Hello and welcome to day 6 of iLearn review. Today we're going to take a look at how to graph a line from an equation and what the solution is from a graph for a system of equations. We should be working on problems 54 through 63 on your worksheet. So the first thing you got to know is that we're looking at equations that are written in slope-intercept form. In other words, they're written y equals mx plus b, where b is the y-intercept and m is the slope. And so a couple things that usually give students a little bit of a struggle is what is the y-intercept. So it's literally what it sounds like. It is where the line crosses the y-axis. And so when we talk about what is the y-intercept, what we're talking about is the line that you're creating on the graph. Where does it cross this line here? And so we're going to take a look at the first equation, and we have y equals 1/3 x plus 5. Well, b is the number 5. The y-intercept. And so what that means is you're going to go where on the y-axis where it is positive 5. So we're going to put a dot right here on positive 5. The slope is 1/3. Rise over run, that means go up 1 and over 3 to the right. So up 1 and over 3 to the right, we put a dot right there. We then use that information to graph our line going just like this all the way through the graph. You'll notice every time it touches, it goes up 1, over 3 touches, up 1, over 3 touches, up 1, over 3 touches. It should be like that for all of these problems. We will not do that for every single one to show you that. But b is where you start out on the y-axis. The slope then tells you to go from there. So let's take a look at number 55. In this case, the b, or the y-intercept, is -4. The slope is -2. So -4 tells me to go right here. That's the y-intercept. It's where it crosses the y-axis. -2, remember we can write all whole numbers or integers as a fraction. So this is really -2 over 1. So that means go down 2 and over 1 to the right. Again, you're going to take your line and go all the way across the graph. Looking at number 56, this one says y equals -3/5 x. The y-intercept in this case is not listed. It's 0. Think about it. Plus 0 would be what we'd need there. So when there's nothing after the x, we just assume that it's 0. It goes right here at the origin. And then -3/5 means go down 3 and 5 to the right. So go down 3 and 5 to the right. We're talking about right here. And you really need to use a ruler when you're doing these to make sure that you line up correctly. And so hopefully what happens is you get your line exactly where it needs to go. All right, and then looking at number 57, the y-intercept in this case is +1. The slope is -5. Remember, we can write that as a fraction, so it becomes -5 over 1. So +1 tells me to start right here. -5 over 1 tells me to go down 5 and over 1 to the right. Again, you can use a ruler so that you graph your line correctly. You really want to make sure that it goes through both of those points. Moving on to number 58. The y-intercept is -1. The slope is -3/4. So the -1 tells me to put a dot right here. -3/4 tells me to go down 3 and over 4. Again, use a ruler, graph your line. Try to make sure that you can get it to go all the way through the graph. Make sure that you have it in exactly the right spot, otherwise you'll miss the problem. So make sure that you go through those points. Looking at number 59, the y-intercept in this case is +3. The slope is -7/5. So I'm going to go to +3 on the y-axis. I'm going to put a dot. So I'm going to count down 7 and over 5 to the right. And then I'm going to use a ruler and graph my line and make sure that it goes through both of those 2 points. And that's the line you should graph. Moving on to the next page, you've got problems 60, 61, 62, and 63. These are called system of equations. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to graph both of the equations onto the graph. So -4, we're going to start with just this one here. So my b for this is -4, so I'm going to start at -4 for my y-intercepts. And then my slope is -4. That means go down 4 and over 1. But I can't go down 4 and over 1. So whenever that happens, I do everything the opposite. Normally I would go down and to the right. Because I can't do that, I'm going to go up and to the left. So I'll go up 4 and 1 to the left. Up 4, 1 to the left. And you should have created these points where you can graph your line. You want to make sure that you graph this is why it's really important to graph these in the correct location. Now, for the second equation, we're going to do it in red so that you can see. But it tells you +2. -x, there's really a 1 there, so that means go down 1 and 1 to the right. So talking about right here. Again, you're going to graph, make sure you go all the way across the graph. And so you want to make sure that you have this exactly where you want it to. Where they cross at is called the solution to the system. And so the answer that you're looking for is the ordered pair at which they cross. So they cross at -2 and +4. So this is your answer here for your solution. Looking at number 61, we're going to start with the top one in blue. And then we're going to do +2 means right here on the y-axis. -3 really means -3/1, so down 3 and over 1 to the right. So we're talking about right here. Sometimes I'll do it twice so that I can really make sure that I get my line on the correct points. Use a ruler. Make sure that you go through all those points. And then we're going to switch to red so that we can do the other one. +4 tells me to start right here. Again, it's -3. So down 3 over 1. Down 3 over 1 again. And this time I'm going to, again, use a ruler and make sure that I have a straight line. And this time you notice that nowhere on the graph do they touch each other. In fact, what should happen is they should turn out to be parallel lines. And so when this happens, it means they never touch each other because they're always going to be the same distance apart. So this would be no solution. You can only have a solution when they touch each other. So in this case, it's no solution. When they only touch once, you have an ordered pair. Now let's take a look at number 62. Again, we're going to do the top one in blue. Positive 4 tells me to start right here. Negative x means go down and 1 to the right. Again, make sure you use a ruler so that you're graphing your line as straight as possible. And then we're going to do the next one in red. Positive 2 is here. X is really a 1 in front of that, so it means up 1 and over 1 to the right. Again, same thing. Make sure that you're using a ruler so that you can graph your line as best you can. In this case, they cross again right here, only one time. That means your answer is going to be an ordered pair. In this case, it is going to be 1, positive 3. And that would be the solution to your problem, to your system. Number 63, it says the top one in blue is going to be at positive 3, down 4 over 1 to the right. Again, down 4 over 1 to the right. You should end up with something that looks like this. Use a ruler. Make sure that you graph your line as straight as possible. We're going to do the second equation in red. And so we got negative 2 is where we start at. Up 1 over 1. Up 1 over 1. In this particular case, they cross only one time. It happens to be right here. That is the solution to your graph. It's going to be positive 1, negative 1. This particular worksheet does not have one where they end up being the same exact line. If you do happen to get two equations where they end up being the same exact line, that is infinite solutions, or all real numbers would be a solution to that problem. Again, this completes day 6 of iLearn Review. Thank you. Tomorrow, day 7, we will take a look at scatter plots and best fit line.